It's been a while since I've been able to really do props. So, hi, welcome back, everyone. The thing that inspired this video really was there is a channel called the Roz Williams Scholar Society. And within the Goth community, this is a very important channel because the person who runs the channel has one of the largest vaults of Roz Williams collections of interviews, videos, music videos, songs that are very, very hard to find, like songs from Premature Ejaculation, from Dracus Corota. And it was a really big bummer to find out that he apparently got into some issues on the Goth subreddit with other people within the Goth community. People in the Goth community tend to predominantly lean more progressive, especially on LGBTQIA plus rights. The Goth community in the past has been a pretty good safe haven for queer people, as it sprung off of punk, which was a fairly progressive movement in and of itself. And Goth is no different, and there's a lot of Goth creators that are LGBTQ themselves. Johnny Slut being one of them. Wayne Hussey from the Mission UK. And Roz Williams, who his last known boyfriend, Roz Williams' last known boyfriend, is apparently pretty progressive himself, from what I hear. I don't know Roz Williams' last boyfriend personally. Roz Williams was a deep hero of mine. He was definitely into shock, the whole shock allure. He did have a lot of fascist imagery in his performances, in his art. The people who knew him personally, his friend Nico, his longtime friend, and even made him the godfather of her child, Jeton Damone. Eva O doesn't really talk about him that much, but the people who knew Roz personally would say that he was actually a very kind, gentle soul, and was not fascist. A lot of the fascist imagery just was shock value. What we would call today trolling. And the thing is that, well, Christian death, which for Roz, that was, a lot of people get the impression that was a spoof on religion, and in all actuality, Roz named the band, the band's name, I believe, was due to Roz Williams making fun of fashion. It's a play on words of Christian Dior. Instead of Christian Dior, it's Christian death. And part of the aesthetic of goth and punk was to be anti-fashion. So, like, if you go back to the early days of goth and punk specifically, it was very DIY. The fashion that was in the goth community, there was no store you could go into and buy this sort of garb. You had to make it yourself. You had to figure out how to make your face pale, and probably wait for Halloween to get the black lipstick, black eyeliner. Some people probably just use pigments of various kinds. I know one of the old ways of pale face powder was to use baby powder or cornstarch with some water. That used to be one of the old ways. Or you'd have to go to a place that supplied makeup for studio production and get it. But anyway, so apparently this person who runs the Roz Williams Scholar Society YouTube channel got upset with, I think, members of the LGBTQ community. I don't know what went down. I don't know what happened. I did try to reach out. Hopefully I will show that message here. And this is a good indication of why it is so important that we do not lose our humanity in this so-called culture war, is reaching out and showing somebody that somebody cares about your well-being, that somebody cares about where you're at in life, is very, very important, and it can make all the difference in the decisions and ways that they engage with the world around them and what they reflect out there into the world. And hopefully I have that here. He says in it that, he appreciates me reaching out the way that I did, and that if more people had done that within the goth community, then he may not be live streaming Nick Fuentes and Groyper fascist shit and locking up the entire vault of very, very rare Roz Williams archived interviews and footages and photographs and things that are very, very hard to find. And maybe the goth community should have showed him more appreciation for what he did. No simple task. And I think anyone in the goth community can recognize that. Gathering all that stuff about Roz Williams, somebody who is deeply underground, somebody who is not very well known, very, that was the nature of goth and punk back then. It was not popular. It was not like it is today. Today you have people going out and spending lots of money on Victorian garb that costs a lot of money. We didn't have that back then. Like I said, we used to have to make our own fashion. And that was anti-fashion. And that was the point. And of course, mainstream looked at that and said, oh, we can capitalize off of that, which is not the point. So anyway, this explores the idea of why these fascist identity label title and online brainwashy propagandists, utopian society, false prophet, cult-minded, manipulative, parasocial relationship having social media groups actually kind of suck. Like, that's really kind of the whole message, is the Groypers, they're kind of gay. Like, as in cringe, as in stupid. And I'm about to make my case for that. They don't just suck for being fascist. They suck because they actually are just really lame. These kinds of movements, people that gather around identity, are not new, and they have been happening for millennia. And fascists didn't invent it. And I would say religion came first a long time ago. Social media has perpetuated an environment that is very toxic, as people will, rather than let their own individuality define them, cling to a label, a title, or a box, and then twist and contort their own values, principles, and morals to fit into said box as a means of wanting to fit in. Really, try to meet that need of community, which is part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is one of the things we really value, the point of belonging and feeling like we have a group of people who care about us. Listen, which makes sense, but not to the point of losing one's own individuality, which there's a big emphasis on that within the goth and punk culture, is individual self-expression and the freedom of such, and in the way that you're not inhibited in any way. Con artists have been trying to sell simple and frankly fucked up answers and to desperate people since forever. Or a con that relies on people forgoing logic and critical thinking and independent thought for being told how to think, and all the way down how to live their very lives instead of just living their life as they see fit. Social media has provided fertile breeding ground for these types of people, and they prey on those who are typically lost in an identity crisis, existential crisis, or people have lost many types of hope and are desperate for answers and solutions to ease not only their pain, but also their problems, to which these con artists can never, ever deliver, and rarely even truly know their own followers' problems, and their followers are pretty much always a means to an end. For the con artist to get what they want and what they desire, which is typically power and control. This doesn't solve the problems, it creates problems and crushes the prospect of individuality along with many other things. And so, from here, I would like to say, before we go further, because this is probably going to be a long video, kind of in the form of a video essay. Like, share, subscribe, comment. All the relevant links will be in the description. Hit the bell button. And I'll probably reiterate some of this at the end. So, this here is part 1. The introduction. And the fact of the matter is that what Nick Fuentes is doing is not new. And fascists didn't invent it. This is a story as old as time itself, and something that has been happening since before humans could even talk. Before I begin, I am not interested in debating a bunch of neo-Nazi Groyper trolls in the comments section. If you want to play follow the stupid leader, that's on you, and I won't stop you. If that's the road that you want to go down, I can't stop you from doing it. All I can try to do is make a compelling argument of why you shouldn't do it. Even if you don't agree with my left-wing politics, which I'm a libertarian, socialist, basically, and anarchist. You don't have to agree with that political position. But seriously, these people, these fascist, grifty, Groyper, etc., 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 it's not new, and it's actually really fucking lame and stupid. And again, that's the case that I'm trying to make here is that the reason why you shouldn't follow them is not because you should join the left. It's that they're stupid. It's lame. It's very lame. You're about to find out why. I think I make a pretty good case. We'll see. I'm not a very big professional at this, and I mean, it's not like I'm ever going to get enough likes, shares, subscribes, and comments and views to do this for a living, so whatever, fuck it. But let's just throw it in and give it our best shot, right? This is only to cover a perspective why it appears so stupid to so many people, and why so often in the past would be greeted with a big fat eye roll. Like, ugh. Hear me out. And if you feel the cringe pour over you as the cringe is described, then it is up to you where you go from there. After all, there comes a time in every man's life when he looks in the mirror, and if he doesn't like the reflection that he sees, and who he's become, who he is, there comes a time when that person, that man, has to realize the only person who can do anything about it, who can change what they see in the reflection, is themselves. And no one else can do that for them. I'll begin with this quote. The things that claw and the things that gore are unreliable things. And so is a man with a sword in his hand, and snakes, and rivers, and kings. A very nihilistic statement of basically left or right. It's all bullshit. It's just a bunch of assholes competing for power, which I'll get back to in a moment. Put a pin in it. It is a song called Kings by a goth band called Mephisto Walz. Really more of a poem, but Mephisto Walz performs it as a song. Maybe at this point, I will read the lyrics because the entirety of the lyrics are actually really spell this out really clearly. Okay, so I really wanted to do a shot outside where I was smoking a cigarette, so I think that's where I'll put this. Over me doing the lyrics, the poem Kings, and it was originally written by Christine Leonard and Barry Galvin and performed by Mephisto Walz. I will leave a link in the description if you care to hear the song, of a YouTube link where you can listen to it if you'd like. But these are the lyrics. In sinuous coil and heartless toil, in sinuous course and armored force, in savage harms that yield to charms, in all these things are snakes like kings. Uneven rough and high enough, yet low folk roam their flanks as home, and wild things haunt them, hungry, gaunt. In all these things are snakes like kings. In savage harms that yield to charms, uneven rough and high enough, in sinuous course and armored force, in all these things are snakes like kings. The things that claw and the things that gore are unreliable things, and so is a man with a sword in his hand, and rivers, and women, and kings, and gets to the heart of all of it. So maybe right here, I'll have a segue into just those lyrics. And I've repeated these lyrics multiple times on my channel in various videos. But we're going to do it again. Another way to put it is this quote, these lyrics by a band called Black Tape for a Blue Girl, a song called Knock 3 Times. The world could talk, insane men rule, insane men rule. Our stomachs kept on grumbling, but we had fun. We danced a lot if you don't count all that stumbling. It really reminds me of a conversation I had with a woman I used to work with. She was an older woman from Russia, and she could recant, and she remembers the Soviet Union and the US, well, the USSR, but, her parents and her grandparents could also recant the times of Lenin and the rise of communist Russia. And at the time, anti-SJW content was pretty popular on YouTube. It was everywhere. The recounts of stories from her grandparents and parents and all the things that they had to do to survive. I asked her in the height of the so-called I asked her during the height of the so-called anti-SJW days on YouTube, when all the so-called neo-skeptics, which that was a giant scam, it was just bullshit. Anti-SJW, as I've come to learn, is just a code word for being right-wing, and SJW is just a code word for they're a leftist. I am an SJW. I am woke. But one thing I can say I am not. I'm not a woke scold. I think that's the difference, really. If we're still trying to figure this out, it's just language gumbo at this point. These neo-skeptics were making such videos. I asked her, do you think we are heading towards a communist dictatorship? That was a pretty prominent thing back then, as they kept saying, oh, we're heading towards communism, we're heading towards communism, we're heading towards some kind of crazy authoritarianism. Some kind of crazy left-wing authoritarianism. I asked her, do you see any similarities at all? Which side do you think is worse? And what are your thoughts on politics? The response she gave was so perfect and almost a direct reflection of my personal feelings as an anarchist, which is anti-hierarchy, which was, they're all the same. It's just a bunch of assholes trying to compete for power. That's it right there. It's all just a bunch of people competing for power and control over other people. And as long as there is hierarchy, we will never truly be free. And the poor will always be taken advantage of by someone. Going back to that King's poem. Be that a dictatorship of one man or a dictatorship of a large group of people. Be they a minority or a majority. Never underestimate the power of stupid people in large numbers, and this comes from Rick and Morty, and I know some people feel some type of way about Justin Roiland, but there is one of the episodes where Rick says something that's just so on point, so anarchistic, so nihilistic, and I totally agree with it. Everyone tries to take over the universe. The trick is to not be involved with whoever succeeds. And I couldn't agree more. It's been a long time since I've made a video like this, and this one actually has a script. I would leave the script in the description, but it's rather long. And by the time this video comes out, I want you to know I worked really, really hard on this one. Especially with my disability and limitations, this was very, very difficult. And no, I was not inspired to do video essays by Jessie Genders. To you, Cassandra. And if Cassandra watches this, I want to say something to her directly. I am going to fuck up a lot of Greek words, and I apologize in advance. I can't read them. Okay. Part 2. Nobody can promise you everything. Hear me out! Alright, so I know that I normally do free flow, like free spitting. And so in the first segment, I did a really bad job at trying to read the script and stay on script, and it didn't flow very well. I promise the last segment will be me doing what I normally do, which is free flow thought, in honor of the beatnik poets that goth and punk and hippie stuff that counterculture is today is predicated on. Yeah, so this one, no one can promise you everything. Anyone who says they can fix all your problems with simple solutions or claims to understand your struggles, especially when they do not even know who you are, for one, is either lying to you or trying to sell you something. And lastly, they just don't have the answers to life struggles. Because no one does. Even if they did have the answers to all your struggles or understand your pain, your sorrow, the answers to those things would be different for everyone because we all face different struggles in life. And the real answers would be individually tailored to our own individual issues and needs. No one is manning the boat. This is a very popular philosophical thing within the left. No one's manning the boat. It's actually captured really well in a David Bowie song called After All. It's predicated on that whole philosophy. We're all just taller children. And that's a really good song. Maybe I should segue into reading the lyrics from After All. I really like the cover version from Mission UK of their cover of After All. It's really good. It's a really decent cover of After All. I don't know. Maybe people don't want that. No, I think I will. I think I'll do it. I'm going to segue into After All here. Please trip them gently. They don't like to fall. Oh, by Jingo. There's no room for anger. We're all very small. Oh, by Jingo. We're painting our faces and dressing in thoughts from the skies, from paradise. But they think that we're holding a secretive ball. Won't someone invite them? They're just taller children, that's all. After all. Man is an obstacle sad as the clown. Oh, by Jingo. So hold on to nothing, and he won't let you down. Oh, by Jingo. Some people are marching together, and some on their own, quite alone. Others are running, the smaller ones crawl, but some sit in silence, they're just older children, that's all. After all. I sing with impertinence, shading impermanent chords with my words. I've borrowed your time, and I'm sorry I called, but the thought just occurred that we're nobody's children at all. After all. Live till your rebirth, and do what you will, oh, by Jingo. Forget all I've said, please bear me no ill, oh, by Jingo. After all. After all. And I will have the link to the Mission UK remake of this song and David Bowie's in the description for you. A YouTube link to David Bowie's and the Mission UK's version of this song, After All, in the description. We are all children having children. We are only taller children. Yes, experience shape us, and we learn from them as we grow old. But we are all just as lost and clueless as the next person. The reality is, while experience may have taught them some things, their experience may not align with someone else's struggles or problems at all. Nick Fuentes doesn't even know who you are and will most likely say anything you want to hear to get you to donate money for his giant mansion, his studio, and live a life of luxury, many of his followers giving him money in hopes of some great solution despite not being able to pay for their food or their meds, or even a roof over their home, so he can live a life of luxury. And if you don't believe me that Nick Fuentes is rich and he lives this life, you think Nick Fuentes is an everyman guy? You think he understands the struggle of poor people? You think he knows those things? Well, this is a picture of Nick Fuentes' house at 7 bedrooms. And Nick Fuentes, so his income bracket, lowest estimates are about $120,000 a year. High estimates include almost $800,000 a year, due to super PAC money that he receives from GOP super PACs. No, this guy is rich. He lives well off. He lives better than about 69%, actually larger than that. It's more like 75% of Americans. He will never know or experience the lifestyle that Nick Fuentes leads. So, yeah, there's that. Something that a lot of people don't understand. These people that try to speak to the everyman, the poor white person who lives in the middle of nowhere in a rural area where poverty is climbing exponentially and the average wage is really, really low and everybody is just struggling to survive. Well, I hate to tell you, that's not just in rural areas, it's even here in the cities. We're all struggling to survive. Yes, a lot of people here in the cities make more money doing the same jobs that you would have out there in the rural areas, but the reason why we make more money is because the cost of living is higher. But we're struggling too. We're struggling here too in the cities, and we're heading into a transition of the next part. Here, the next part is the argument. The argument is part 2. The argument. All right, welcome to part 3. The argument. So the argument is absolutely ridiculous. The entire argument hinges on one of its core aspects, on the idea that if you just get rid of all the groups of people you don't like, which may be different for Nick than they are for you, then literally, poof, magic, poof, suddenly you will be living in some kind of utopia. Okay. This is where it gets interesting. Because a group of all white, straight, non-trans, or cis and religious people have never, ever gotten on each other's nerves and started fighting, and by fighting, I mean war, basically. One need not look any further than what Oliver Cromwell did to the Scottish, or you could just look what happened to the Whitakers or the Shakers. Here in the US, in its early history, the other thing is that idea never works. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that one does succeed in getting rid of all the LGBTQIA plus people who are around right now, this very moment, today. Say you could just get rid of all of us that are existing at this very moment. Well, guess what? One generation of births, and there will be more. More will be born. And they will be a lot harder to find because they will hide. Don't act like no one has ever tried this before. Okay? And just like those who have tried this before, including but not limited to the 1930s, it didn't succeed. As guess what? Those groups of people are still here. So it never works. Never does anything. Never accomplishes anything. Nope, it's never happened. Scapegoating, gross overgeneralizations, and dehumanizing those whom are scapegoated has never solved the problems. People have never thought it would. This is just a throwaway, simple solution for an idiot who doesn't care about anyone but themselves. Answer to a very complex, or to very complex issues, or things that just happen in life that will never stop or go away. Part of the fascist argument literally hinges on the idea of literally killing and hurting others. Somehow, this is supposed to solve the problem of poverty, injustice, emotional pain, existential crisis, nihilism, or just insert problem X here. Dehumanizing and objectifying other human beings won't make your issues disappear. Often, actually, every example of this in history, the leader that leads people to this is more concerned about getting what they want, and they only see their followers as a means to an end, and never have any intentions of fulfilling or solving all the problems of the individuals that follow them, as, like I said, they often do not even know who you are. Even if they do know you personally, history has shown they do not care about your whims or desires. They only care that you are loyal to them, their cause, and helping them achieve their goal, which in the long run turns out to be power over others, especially their followers. I know I just keep changing things. I don't know what to say. It's hard to get good audio and with different backgrounds and settings, but yeah, this is the whole thing. Is what you think okay, here's this group of people that annoy me. I don't like them. And if you have a bad interaction with them, for some reason, people have a tendency to make a gross overgeneralization and assume every single person that is part of that marginalized community is like that. They're not. And so the idea is as follows: is like the position is that okay, you get rid of all the marginalized people, you get rid of the BIPOCs, you get rid of the LGBTQIA plus people. Don't think you can get rid of women. That would be bad. But a lot of this hinges on a desire to crush women's rights and female empowerment, even though female empowerment, when you look at indigenous European people and cultures, female empowerment was not an issue. That's another thing that's disappointing about all this. And in my experience, a lot of Goth people are very familiar with history and have some wealth of knowledge either in history, literature, philosophy, or something of that nature. And I would think we would know about this. So you get rid of these people, and then what? How does that equal to a utopian society? You think just because you get this small group of people who are all white, and they're all Christian, and they're all straight, and they're all not trans or cis, and then everything will just work out. Everything you'll have more money. You'll have the nuclear family back. You won't be in trouble with the law. There will be no addiction. There will be no theft. There will be no murders. There will be no rapes. There will be no this, that, or the other. Now, the whole communist thing, at least they can cling to the argument that nobody's actually ever established a true communist country before, which is true because it's supposed to be a stateless, leaderless, classless society. But you have others that argue every time it's attempted, it always leads to some kind of totalitarianism. And that's not true communism. That's not what it's supposed to be. So at least they have that kind of argument that we don't know what will unveil from communism, but communists also don't promise a perfect society or a utopian society. No one can guarantee you a society free of crime and corruption, drug use, and stuff like that. You're still going to have criminals. We still live in an imperfect world. And I, as an anarchist, if you had an anarchist society, I cannot promise you a perfect world. An anarchy doesn't mean no rules. It means no hierarchy. For me, there's only 5 rules that I'm really interested in based on a core philosophy of do not impose your will on others against their own will. Do not impose your disposition on others. The 5 rules that I have: don't murder, don't rape, don't molest children, animals, and dead bodies. And there's rational, totally logical reasons behind each of those. Sex should be mutual informed consent every time, all the time, no exceptions. No abuse, no battery, no assault, basically no violence clause. Now, there is an example of, let's say, people want to live and die by the sword and like open up some kind of gladiator type thing if this, because blah, 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 something masculinity. If everybody goes in there with mutual informed consent, knowing that this could result in the end of your life and most likely will, and the people participating in that don't really have a problem with it, then I don't really see an issue with that. If that's what they want to do. The no violence clause is really more about, like, if you see someone you don't like living a lifestyle you don't like, you have to tolerate that. You don't have permission to just go over and beat the shit out of them because you don't like them. And then the sort of misdemeanor, and it's really circumstantial because, like, there's instances of this where it's like it can be worked out, things can be done about it, misunderstandings happen, etc., etc., etc. But it's, don't steal people's stuff. I used to talk about private property, but I realize capitalists have a tendency to think that what I'm trying to, because they interpret private property to mean that corporations can withhold vast and large amounts of much needed resources from the public and monopolize on that, engage in exploitative behavior and extortion. And no, that's imposing your will on others against their own will, and that's why hierarchy is problematic, and why a lot of communists disagree with me is because they usually say that some form of hierarchy needs to be achieved. So, I mean, the thing is you get this white group of people. The fact of the matter is, within that group of people, they're all straight, they're all Christian or of some like-minded religion. They're all cisgender. They're all all that's fascists. They're all fascists of some kind. So some far right thing. The idea that none of them are going to step on each other's toes and get into fights, that none of them are going to be rapists, none of them are going to be pedophiles, none of them are going to steal your stuff, none of them are going to, do something that causes the results in violence. That's not how that works. It doesn't. How that works in your head is not how it plays out in real time. And so, literally, this is utopian society, something I wrote a dissertation about back when I was in my senior year in high school. Going into college, we had to practice for going to college, so I had to write a dissertation. I chose utopian societies. They can't exist. They never work. They always erupt into very severe problems and collapse. So, I mean, what is Nick Fuentes' end goal here? It's like, you get rid of all the marginalized people, and then what? How do you go from the marginalized people poof to magic? Now everything just works out. That's a big logical jump between those two things. It's fucking stupid. It doesn't fucking work. It's I'm sorry, but it's fucking retarded. So anyway, I mean, I guess Nick Fuentes is just, he's gonna gather up, all these white, Christian, not gay, not trans, whatever kind of religion or whatever belief system is acceptable to him, and he's going to go out into the woods and create a society of people, and then eventually that's gonna spiral out of control, and due to lack of genetic diversity, you're gonna end up with a bunch of inbred people that have genetic problems. And oh wait, no, this isn't Nick Fuentes either. This is the narrative of a family lost to time in Appalachia, all inbred with severe health problems and grotesque stereotype rooted in myth, not reality. While some documented cases of severe genetic conditions have occurred in isolated families, the widespread reputation of inbreeding in Appalachia was exaggerated for decades to malign and stereotype the region's people. But we have videos of this, and I'll show you some clips. These people wandered off into the middle of nowhere and ended up just inbreeding to where they had massive health problems and genetic problems.
Bluntly, exaggeration-prone outsiders. And it's always been attached to some sort of gain to be had, often financial, for doing so. If you watch my recent 2-part episode on Who Are the Appalachian People, you'll know from that in the early 1900s there was a collusion by sociologists, individuals, and the federal government to malign and stereotype people from Appalachia.
So what are your names?
It's Ray, Lori, Timmy.
I'm sorry. Who's this?
His name's Ray.
Ray. I remember Ray. I photographed you, Ray. Do you remember? Years ago. And your name?
Okay, so that wasn't Nick Fuentes. That was the Whitakers. Okay, what is Nick Fuentes going to do? So we got the white people. They're all straight. They're all cis. They're whatever belief system. Let's say it is Christianity. I think a lot of the Christian people that in this Christo-fascist kind of fantasy, and they get together and they travel out into no man's land. Let's say they want to have a little bit more structure. You know, they have a goal in mind. We're creating this white Christo-fascist kind of society, and because we're all Christian, they're all white, and they're all straight and cis and Christian and white and stuff, that it's not going to break out. And it's not going to be the same as the Whitakers. It's going to, they're going to go out there. They're going to build buildings. They're going to have a society. They're going to have work. They're going to have structure. And they're going to base it off of religion and Puritanism. Very puritanical, very orthodox. Hopefully they don't disappear or anything, or end up having birth rates decline because of their puritanical ideals. Oh wait, I'm actually talking about the United Society of Believers in Christ. Second appearing was started by Ann Lee, who is also known as Mother Ann. She was a charismatic leader who's guided by visions, led her followers from England to the United States in 1774 to establish a new community based on the belief that Christ's second coming was realized in her. The Shaker Utopian community of the United Society of Believers in the Christ's second appearance is the quintessential commune to which all other utopian communities are compared. The Shakers, named after their ecstatic dancing as worship, are the longest-lived American utopian experiment. Shaker influence can be widely seen in fashion, furniture, textiles, music. Moreover, they were radical for their time in many ways. 75 years before emancipation and 150 years before suffrage, Shakers were allegedly practicing social, sexual, economic, and spiritual equality. The Shakers were founded in 1770 in England by Ann Lee. In the 1760s, Lee joined the Shaking Quakers, having become disillusioned with the Anglican Church after her fourth child died in infancy. The sect of Quakers told her that sexual intercourse was the root of all sins. They were notable for their shaking as they danced and spoke in tongues. Inspired by this community, Ann Lee began to have visions of God. She was taught to be the second appearance of Christ on earth. This group ended up disappearing, and people do not know what happened. Utopian society is the Shakers, a group that splintered from the Quakers. The Shakers' utopian experiment has largely disappeared, with only a tiny dwindling number of members remaining today. The decline was due to a number of factors, including their practice of celibacy, which prevented growth through new births, and general decline in traditional communities during the Industrial Revolution. They disappeared because of their practice of celibacy. The whole idea of the trad family, don't have sex until you're married, only have sex to reproduce, blah, 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 wouldn't you know it, is actually pretty antithetical to human population, because human reproduction is shit. We only have one child at a time. Gestation period is 9 months. Gestation even continues outside of utero, etc., etc. More inclined to have more reproduction if people don't subscribe to these very draconian, very traditional, sort of Christo, puritanical views. You're more likely to get population to increase if people just, fuck. But yeah. Not Nick Fuentes. This group. So yeah, that specifically, that wasn't about Nick Fuentes. I was describing the Shakers. They went out in 1776 in America to try to create this sort of utopian society, and that's what ended up happening. The Shaker Utopian Community for the United Society of Believers in Christ's Second Appearance, and the quintessential commune to which all other utopian communities are compared. The Shakers named after their ecstatic dancing as worship are the longest lived American utopian experiment. It was founded in 1770 in England by Anne Lee, and in the 1760s, Lee joined the Shaking Quakers, having become disillusioned with the Anglican Church, and after her fourth child died in infancy, this sect of Quakers were notable for their shaking as they danced and spoke languages inspired by this community, and people don't know what happened to them. They just kind of disappeared, and not very many of them are left. So I guess I wasn't talking. That's not Nick either. Oops. Oh, okay, so let's say that Nick Fuentes just keeps on platforming and making all these promises, and he uses religion and says, oh, if we just follow the Christ ways, and then gets everybody to move to Guyana. Oh wait, Oh, wait, that's the Jonestown Massacre, where there was a charismatic leader who convinced a bunch of people that he could, change all their lives and usher in this utopian society in Guyana, establish the People's Temple in America, was also very religiously inclined. And I think we all know what happened there, right? if you don't know about the Jonestown Massacre, yeah, another charismatic leader trying to create a utopian society, religion, blah, 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 blah. So, not Nick Fuentes, someone else. So, okay, that wasn't Nick Fuentes either. That was Jonestown. That was Jim Jones that did that, and I think we all know what happened there. Sadly. So, okay. What else could Nick Fuentes do? You know, I suppose he's a charismatic speaker promising simple, unknowable solutions to a desperate populace as a core feature in democratic political context. You know, I guess he could be a leader of the people with no negative connotation and evolve into a leader who appeals to the masses, emotions rather than reason, of course, often with simple theatrical rhetoric to gain personal power. Oh wait, this is Oh, wait, no, we're still not talking about Nick Fuentes. This goes all the way back to ancient Greek and possibly where the word demagogues come from, the demagogues of ancient Greece. The earliest recorded instances of charismatic speakers gaining followers with simple false promises can be traced to the demagogues of ancient Greece. These figures are the historical and conceptual ancestors of later populist leaders and false prophets who exploit the desires and fears of the public for personal gain. In democratic Athens, demagogues, Greek for leaders of the people, promised easy fixes to complex problems by appealing to the emotions of the common people rather than to reason. Historian Richard Luthen describes this type of leader as a politician skilled in oratory, promising everything to everybody, appealing to the passions rather than the reason of the public. Cleon of Athens died in 422 BC. We also have Demagogues and Democracy by Gregory A. Raymond. Arousing passions and appealing to prejudice. The term demagogue, demagogos, arose in Greece during the 5th century BCE to describe a new breed of charismatic politicians who sought to lead the masses by arousing their passions and appealing their prejudices, to contrast to political figures who advocated courses of action that they believed were in the common good. Demagogues used their rhetorical skills to promote policies that advanced their self-interests. In ancient Athens, those skills were used when speaking before the assembly, which meant 40 times a year on the... I will have to ask Cassandra how to pronounce this. Hill above the city's bustling marketplace. After speeches were delivered on an issue, the assembly would vote and pronounce a decree, which was then implemented by magistrates and boards appointed by lot for year-long terms, because under the principle of Esagoria, freedom of speech, All adult male citizens had an equal right to participate in assembly, deliberations, education, and persuasive speaking was popular among Athenians. Gregorians of Leontini, Hippias of Elis, and Protagoras of... I'll have to ask Cassandra. She's good with these ancient Greek pronunciations. Were among the most famous itinerant teachers known as sophists, men of wisdom, who offered instruction in the art of rhetoric. And I know it's Wikipedia, but they talk about it. Demagogue of the ancient Greek, popular leader, mob leader from ancient Greek, people of populace, and or rebel rouser, is a political leader in a democracy who gains popularity by arousing the common people against elites, especially through oratory that whips up the passions
Charlie Kirk.
of the crowds,
Yeah.
appealing
Charlie
to
Kirk,
emotion by scapegoating out groups, exaggerating dangers to stoke fears, lying, emotional effect, or other rhetoric that tends to drown out reasoned deliberation and encourage fanatical popularity. Demagogues overturn established norms of political conduct or promise or threaten to do so. This is ancient Greece. So, I mean, not Nick Fuentes. What they're doing is nothing new. And even down here, it says, many demagogues elected to high executive office have unraveled constitutional limits on executive power and tried to convert their democracy into a dictatorship, sometimes successfully. So this is nothing new. They've been doing this for millennia. And Nick Fuentes and the fascists didn't invent it. I would say religion did, but demagogues. Not Nick Fuentes either. This goes all the way back to 400 BCE in ancient Rome. Okay, so that wasn't Nick Fuentes either. Oops. But do you see the point I'm demonstrating here? What Nick Fuentes has been doing, is not new. And fascists didn't invent it. It's been around for a long, long, long time. Nick Fuentes absolutely depends on people not being individual thinkers, not participating in individual self-expression, not being anti-authoritarian. He absolutely depends on people being followers and never, ever, ever questioning or doubting what he says, which is called dogma. Dogma does not have to be religious. But this gets into our next segment. So, the fourth. There's an awful lot of little groups out there, an awful lot of little titles and stuff. A lot of it's been perpetuated by social media, and it's made me want to destroy social media. And that's one of my goals, is to destroy social media. Social media is very, very detrimental to the human mind. It's turning everybody's brain into mush. And there's more and more and more content creators that I've seen on YouTube talking about that issue. And I think that they've really got their pulse on something. Something that's been bothering me for a long time that I wanted to make a video on it until they started covering it. Which sucks because it's been bothering me for years, like at least 5 years. It's been bothering me that people are gravitating towards these identities, these groups, these labels, these boxes. And as somebody who was raised by hippie boomers, as an exennial, and also had a step-parent who I consider to be my mother, I grew up with the idea that labels were kind of stupid. Now you might say, but why do you identify as Goth? Do I? Or do I just accept the label? I also accept other labels. Put a pin in it. We're coming back to it.
Part 4. Everyone has an identity crisis.
Okay, yeah, can you imagine if I did the entire rest of the video in that voice that introduced the next part, the next chapter? Wouldn't that be really fucking annoying? So, yeah, because it is scripted and apparently I'm not good at acting like I'm not reading a script or something like that. I'm just gonna read it off of the paper itself right in front of the camera and fuck it, because punk rock, that's why. And kiss my ass, lick my nuts, and go call someone who cares. We're gonna do punk rock about this. We're not gonna give a shit. We're not gonna give a fuck. And that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to read it off of this right in front of the camera. I told you it was scripted. Here we go. I'm going to hit my prompts like what? I use glasses, Makes me look more smart and sophisticated. Not really. I look like some bougie artist from New York. Alright, so where were we? Everyone has an identity crisis. It goes into something, again, I wanted to make a video about it a long time ago, but a lot of other YouTubers are already starting to talk about it, so if I made a video about it, it just seemed like a copy and wanted to make it a long time ago. Should have done it, but I get distracted, I get slowed down. Doing this was seriously a lot of hard work for me with disability and everything. Anyway, here we go. For some reason these days, in a very cringy way, everyone acts like we, as a society, are collectively experiencing an identity crisis. For some reason, everyone is rushing to put themselves into tiny little boxes to define themselves. They find a box. They bend, twist, and contort themselves to fit into it. They do a bunch of mental gymnastics to try to fit their ideological principles with the label or the box and kill their individuality. Everyone has got to be a Jordan Petersonite, a sweetie. Do you remember those sweeties? From Jim, the internet aristocrat. That's what his followers called themselves. They called themselves the sweeties. A Groyper, Charlie Kirk, or now the trend is to say, I'm Charlie, I'm a Charlie, a Charlie, a tanky, an anarchist, a communist, an X, Y, and Z, most of which hardly reflect the actual ideology they claim to take on. For example, you can be a libertarian and support LGBTQIA+ rights. But you didn't know that. Libertarians, as its philosophy used to go, it took a hard left on social issues to where they were sitting all the way over here with us anarchists on the left on social issues, carrying the idea that you should be able to do whatever you want as long as you are not hurting others or imposing your will on others against their own will. That used to be the libertarian stance. If you go back and you look at libertarianism from the 90s to the early aughts, go watch some Penn and Teller bullshit episodes, especially the early seasons. Actually, the early seasons were pretty good. Kind of liked them. But libertarianism has shifted quite a lot. Then they would take a hard right on economic issues where they would be sitting all the way over on the right wing with oligarchs promoting such horrible ideas like complete unregulated capitalism. And, it took me a really long time to figure this out because libertarians would tell me they're so far left, they're all right. And now it occurs to me what they supposedly mean by this. They mean that they're so egalitarian, so libertarianism, anti-authoritarian, that they don't want to regulate and want egalitarian principles for capitalism itself. But the oxymoron in that is that you're essentially saying you're so egalitarian, you're for hierarchy. You're so egalitarian, you're anti-egalitarian. You're so anti-hierarchy that you're hierarchical. So why is it that you get kicked out of libertarian space today if you support LGBTQIA plus rights? Well, we can look at Ben Shapiro. This is a great example. This is why I use Ben Shapiro for this example, is because he creates a good example of it, who claims to be some kind of libertarian. We add that with the whole parasocial relationship and the fact that people... Should have licked my finger before doing that. Do not go to their favorite people on social... what? These stuff. The whole parasocial relationship and the fact that people do not go to their favorite social media personalities to get perspectives. They go to their favorite social media personalities so they can reaffirm their already existing prejudices and beliefs. They also do it so they can follow the stupid leader and learn their talking points so they can start arguments and fights with whom Ben and company tells them is their enemy in online spaces. Just being real with you. Don't get it twisted. The exact same thing happens on the left. People do this on the left too. Nobody goes to watch Vosh to get perspective on leftist ideas. They go to watch Vosh because they're leftists and they already carry those ideological political ideas. And them, told so and so and blah 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 on the right is the enemy, and here's your talking points so they can go and pick fights in comment sections and stuff on the internet. Yeah, everybody's doing this. Everyone shows up to their favorite content creator not to have their own ideas challenged, but to be told how to think as the prescribed box they put themselves into to see them own the named enemy, which could be on the left or the right, depending on the social media person you're watching. That would probably be leftist. And to have their own prejudices, beliefs, biases, and superstitions reaffirmed to them. So how does Ben Shapiro fit into this? Why libertarians can't support LGBTQIA plus civil rights and equality anymore? Well, because Ben Shapiro claims to be an authority and is perceived as an authority on libertarianism. And doesn't like or support Wait, where was I? Yeah. And doesn't like or support LGBTQIA plus equality. The reason why Ben doesn't support LGBTQIA plus rights, though, has nothing to do with being libertarian. It's because of religious reasons, not political ones, due to parasocial relationships, and one reason why I want to destroy social media, people in libertarian spaces who profess to care about leftist social causes, as they once did, get ostracized from their libertarian circles and accused of wrong thing. So, where we are at with this identity thing is that instead of people having some ground or fixed morals, principles, and values, and then let those come to define who they are in a multitude of political ways leading up to a political position on the spectrum of political ideas, they pick an identity and then allow that identity to decide those values, principles, beliefs, and morals for them. Hence why I said they have to twist and contort themselves to fit into the box or label, along with doing a whole lot of mental gymnastics to which they end up taking on ideas they do not actually align with and later regret. Does that sound familiar? Take these off. I don't fucking with my eyes. If you identify yourself by announcing your title first, and then saying, therefore, you support or believe in X thing, you're doing it wrong. If you are saying, because I am political label and title X, I do/don't support Y, then you are allowing your label to define you instead of allowing who you are as an individual come to define the many labels you actually fit into. If you can be defined by only one word or term in the entire English language, this is a pretty vast thing, a lot of words, then you are a very boring person. We are complex social creatures to where each of us can only have aspects of who we are defined by a plethora of various labels and titles. When it comes to humans, we are pretty much never a binary, and pretty much always on some kind of spectrum, as we are complex social animals. I personally will allow many labels to be used to describe certain aspects of who I am. And this gets into the labels and identities and such. You know, you're against labels and stuff. Why do you call yourself goth, punk, all that stuff? Okay, I'm about to get into that. In which some are more apparent to others than some of the other labels and titles. Let's see which ones you see me as. Viewers, you can leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know which one you are. Maybe it's one that's listed. I have been called an accept, anarchist, nihilist, existentialist, hippie, goth, punk, libertarian socialist, artist, druggie, chronic pain patient, sharp-tongued, gay, queer, weird, strange, freak, grunge, rebellious, anti-authoritarian. And, gotta do it like an old person. I'm getting old. I've done gotten myself old. And there's many ways people word this one or phrase it. So that is referring to the anti-authoritarian. There's many different ways people word that one or phrase it. And I am sure there are more. We should not be allowing others to define who we are for us. We are all individuals, and I am not telling you what to do. I want to make that very clear. I am not telling people what to do. I don't believe in doing that. I am simply telling you that you are more than the sum of one word out of the entire English language. To achieve this, all one need to do is be themselves, and the labels will follow based on your actions, decisions, beliefs, principles, and values, not the other way around. This gets into Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche actually pointed this out once in his philosophical hypothesis. He said, God is dead and will remain dead because we have killed him. Wait for it. There is more to this quote than this famous quote than just that part. It goes on. If people cannot individually define their own purpose and meaning for themselves, then they are doomed to believe in anything. Fall for dogma and join shitty cults as they are doing in this social or societal collective identity crisis as they are. Or they will fall into the pit of nihilism, which many people are doing, and why the whole opiate epidemic is a thing. And I'm not even sure if that really is a thing. I have opinions about that, and I've made videos on it. Go watch those. I made a playlist of it called the Pain Crisis Days. There are plenty of things to disagree with Nietzsche on, but this is a very insightful observation of his, and possibly very true looking at our current climate. And now, we're moving on. We're moving on to part 5 now. Part 5, and then after part 5, I know this looks like there's still a lot more. There really isn't. A lot of this printed off, a lot of the links and stuff. But after part 5, I will wrap up, and that will be free flow thought. So we're going to part 5. We're going to part 5. I don't want to say the title yet. Oh wait, but this part 5 is Nick Fuentes gay or something, or is he something else? Like a nonce. Just a question. Part 5. All right. So now part 5 is Nick Fuentes really something else? Look, I'm the magic of filmmaking, right? I keep changing the scenes by just moving to different places in the same room. It's amazing, isn't it? There are other sceneries I'd like to do. Unfortunately, I don't have the audio equipment to do that. So on to this part 5. Part 5, that's what we're on, right? Isn't it? Yeah. Is Nick Fuentes really a nonce? I don't think he is. Is he really an incel? So, look, I'm not magical, and I have never claimed to be. I do not know everything. and I don't claim to. On like a lot of these charismatic speakers. This is mere observation, just a personal thing, me observing Nick Fuentes in the debates, particularly a debate that he had with Dean Withers. There's been some other instances where it's really kind of made me think. So I'm just asking questions. And should absolutely be taken with a grain of salt. This is all speculatory. It's all alleged. This is just a hunch. This is not me trying to find being gay wherever it suits me, or to disparage those who are, by disparaging those who are homophobic, by saying, oh, they're obviously homophobic because they must be gay. That isn't it either. Just hear me out on this. So, Nick is a so-called incel, or voluntarily celibate person, right? Here's the thing. That doesn't make sense to me. Out of all the money and all the fame, or rather infamous, and with all the trad girls out there that fit the description that Nick wants and desires, and there's plenty of them. Many of Nick's contemporaries and people like him, they found trad wives to marry. And you are telling me that despite all that fame and fortune and access to those types of girls, he's never even found one? Nick just happens to be that one really rich political influencer, propagandist person with a lot of money and attention, and with all the trad girls that are out there, they just didn't pick Nick. Kind of strange. And I can tell you, like, Nick's not that bad looking either. He's really not. So there's something weird going on there. It's just kind of weird. You can't tell me that there are no young 20-year-old girls out there that want the whole trad lifestyle, because there are tons of them, and even many within his own audience. I don't understand women who would choose to go down a path where they are deliberately subjecting themselves to objectification, but they exist. I suspect many of the younger 18-year-old girls who want this either don't know what they're asking for, and if they got it, would greatly regret it later, or fall into a pit of despair thinking it's how things are, and there's no way out of it because they have been groomed or even brainwashed from a young age to believe that is normal. It's not, by the way, and it's not traditional on so many of the men on the right wing think, and in the manosphere. I actually had a conversation with my grandmother about this. When grandparents, they live very trad lifestyle, very, man goes, they live the whole man goes to work, woman stays at home, cooks and cleans, takes care of the kids, very conservative, Christian, Republican people. And I was telling my grandmother about the manosphere and people like Nick Fuentes and how they say, oh, they're supposed to get a woman when they're young, groom them, and it's so that they can dominate and control them, and they think that this is traditional. And she laughed. She said, no, My grandfather, who like I said, they're almost 100 years old. They were born in the 1920s. They know what traditional is. They've been living it. Traditionally, men were taught to be very, very kind to women and very chivalrous, and that women were supposed to be treated with respect and dignity. What the manosphere teaches is traditional isn't traditional, and what a lot of these traditional conservative people teach is traditional relationships aren't either. So, I'm not saying Nick Fuentes is gay. I am merely saying it would make sense considering how obsessed he gets with gay people, as he talks incessantly about how gross gay sex is while talking about it in great detail. It's kind of weird. Like, he knows some pretty intricate things about gay sex. So why is he so obsessed with gay sex? Honestly, I asked this question about a lot of straight people, like why they are so obsessed with gay sex. I've never understood it. I don't sit around thinking about straight sex all day, so I don't know why homophobic guys sit around thinking about how two dudes have sex all day. See, to all the straight women out there, they are already going to see this, because they are going to notice that this is not how most straight guys don't notice them. They're going to pay attention to that and notice gay sex instead. They're going to notice that the straight guys typically notice them a lot and don't pay this much attention to men, especially how two men have sex, or even get prepared. Like, Nick goes in, like, in the debate with Dean Withers, like, he literally does this. He goes into this, an aspect of how some guys prepare for sex. He goes into some pretty graphic and great detail, like he's looked at this before, and I don't know why you would do that if you're straight. Which, by the way, what he describes is not the only way. There's other ways to do it that are, I think, more healthy. Anyway, all the straight guys are already going to notice they don't pay this much attention or notice male-on-male gay sex like this. They are too busy noticing women and trying to figure out how to get laid by a woman or married by one. You know, the whole trad thing. It's not very typical for a guy to be so fixated on gay male sex and know so many graphic details about gay male sex and talk about it endlessly, even it's about supposedly how gross he thinks it is. And let me be clear, like, sex in general is just gross. I mean, it's the swapping of bodily fluids. Like, I've never had to earn my red wings as a gay man. It's never been a thing. And no, I've never earned brown wings. That's fucking gross. This could allegedly be internal homophobia on Nick's part. It could be. May very well not be. But could be that he is not voluntarily celibate, or involuntarily celibate, but rather voluntarily celibate, because he has been taught that being gay is gross and weird, and instead of being himself and accepting himself, he suppresses himself and does not act upon his homoerotic fantasies and desires. This is actually a very common thing we see in gay men who grow up in extremely homophobic environments that harbor a hate for themselves internally and an everlasting wish that one day they will be straight if they just try hard enough, or maybe they just haven't met the right girl. And the rationalizations for this go on and on and on. They really do, trust me, I came out a very long time ago, and I have seen so many types like this, including married men who try to rationalize sleeping with men behind their wives' back in the most fucked up of ways. All I'm saying is, it wouldn't shock me at all, and it would actually kind of make sense if Nick came out of the closet one day. However, there are other possibilities, including that he is just telling the truth. But still, strange how out of all the money, fame, and just everything, including having trad fascist girls that follow him, that for some reason all these other fascists have trad wives, but Nick just can't seem to find a girl for himself, despite having an edge in the traditional, or in that trad dating pool with all the money and influence he has. Another possibility, and this is purely speculative, okay? And this is by no means to be taken as fact. I'm not trying to slander Nick or commit libel on him in any way. I do not claim to have magic powers or to read minds, know things beyond collective evidence. I am not trying to make a conspiracy here, and there's a high chance this is not actually the case at all. But I just want to say, it also wouldn't surprise me if it was the case someday. I hope it's not, because something I have absolutely no patience or acceptance for at all, and most do not. Maybe he hasn't found a girl because 18 isn't young enough for him. Maybe he wants a girl closer to young, like really young, what we call on my channel a nonce, because we do not support that here. That is one of the five things I consider real crimes, and it's not okay. Still, though, I do not think this is the case because of the money and influence he has. He would be able to pull that off, sadly, if that is really what he wanted to do. He has the money and influence to do it, let's be real. He could groom if he wanted to. So, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and go into the wrap-up right here. No card or anything. Just go right into the wrap-up. So, yes, if you are a Groyper, you are nothing more than a follower and a poser. When I opened up the Roz Williams Scholar Society YouTube channel and saw tons of swastikas, Pepe memes, and tons of fascist imagery with the sound of Nick Fuentes' voice, my initial reaction, excuse me, was not what many think a leftist's reaction would be, which they tend to think we freak out in horror and run away. Eee! Oh my god! Oh, fascists, click out, click out! No. Instead, this leftist came upon this and thought, oh my god, this is so fucking stupid. Like, why is everything so fucking stupid these days? Why is everything these days so fucking lame, cheesy, and dumb? That was followed by one of the hardest, fattest, and longest eye rolls ever. Most goths that I have met are very familiar with history. Of course, not all are. Goth is predicated on anti-authoritarianism, which being anti-authoritarian and pro-individual self-expression to the point of being socially unacceptable. And then turning around and saying, but I want uniformity, conformity, some dictatorial leader to tell me how to walk, talk, dress, act, and think, and everything, is an oxymoron. You can't be against uniformity and conformity and then do uniformity and conformity, or say you are an individual who self-expresses and turn around and be a sheep that just follows the herd of some dipshit on the internet. This is actually a decent critique some have had of Goth, is that Goth does stand against uniformity, conformity, and is pro-individual self-expression, but then everyone is supposedly required to dress the same. Well, there is actually an answer to that. As in the beginning, Goth was very DIY. You had to make your own shit, your own clothes and makeup. In the beginning, we didn't have stores to buy white pale face powder and fishnets, or today, the very expensive mainstream conformist commercialization of Goth attire, where you see people wearing some really historic, hyperbolic Victorian garb. In the beginning, as Goth sprung off punk, most Goths just look like creepy gutter punks, and many of them made their own clothes and styles. Also, no, the look is not required. It's more about the state of mind, lifestyle of anti-authoritarian, anti-uniformity, anti-conformity, and heavy on the individual self-expression, much like punk. It's just so sad to see a supposed freethinker giving way to allowing someone to think for them and doing the whole parasocial relationship groupthink. Maybe the guy who runs that channel ran into some leftists on the internet who were mean to him, and now he assumes the left in its entirety is all the same and will be mean to him. When in fact there is no way to know every leftist out there, and I actually reached out to him to ask what happened out of concern, and I am a leftist who is gay, who is disabled from a workplace accident. Thing is, many people tend to be more mean to each other on social media than they really would be to each other in real life. It's becoming a fading excuse for people to say some group X was mean to them on the internet, and that's why they hate every single person who identifies as that thing X. We all get hate on the goddamn internet. Every single one of us. I personally have gotten hate from the right, the left, and everything in between, and by groups that are not associated with a political position, but rather some kind of niche cause they have. Thing is, as someone who has been in the goth scene and into very weird shit for a long time. I stopped giving a fuck what haters think of me a long time ago. Really, if you think about it, isn't that all that Nick Fuentes is? And the far right that has infiltrated the Republican Party? Isn't that all they really represent? Isn't that all they are and everything they stand for? Aren't they all just a bunch of bitter and jaded haters? That's really all it is. They may as well all be just a bunch of stuck-up, stuffy suburbanites pearl-clutching because they saw, I don't know, someone disrespect Jesus or saw two guys or two girls kiss or something. It's the same shitheads that flipped shit and tried to shut performers like Marilyn Manson, Jack Off, Jill, Roz Williams, Skinny Puppy, and many others' shows down. What we now call canceled. Because they wiped their ass on an American flag during a show. Yeah, I am pretty sure it's the same people. This isn't new. Reverend Phelps did it back in the 90s and early 2000s. And Fred Phelps didn't invent it. Nick wasn't a thing yet when Fred Phelps was around. And Fred Phelps was doing it long before for this lot of people. And fascists in the 1930s didn't invent it, as I've gone over before. It is something manipulative, annoying, moral busybodies have been doing for millennia. A story almost as old as human beings themselves. And now, I'm going to go into the part where I just free flow it, but I think I've covered everything, really. But yeah, I'm going to go into the part where I free flow it. So, just to be clear, I'm not trying to commit libel or slander or anything. I'm just saying, it is really, really, really weird. Really weird. That, do you understand? Nick Fuentes has a lot of influence. He's seen as an authority. He's got a lot of followers. He's got a lot of money. And for some reason, and there's tons of trad girls out there, tons of trad girls of various age brackets and groups and stuff. And out of all of them, none of them chose Nick. Not one. Not one. Not one. I'm not sure if it's hip and cool to be saying that you're 27 years old and you're still a virgin. I don't think he's in... it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if information came out later that showed he's not involuntarily celibate, but he is voluntarily celibate due to some kind of internalized homophobia or something even more deeply seated and corrupt. That wouldn't shock me, because the current state of affairs doesn't make a whole lot of sense, really. Unless he's asexual. Or a priest. And then again, even priests get caught doing fucked up shit. So, yeah. Now moving into part 6, the wrap up. Free flow thought. Free flow thought. Part 6. Wrap up. All right, to sum up, so I go into the Roz Williams Scholar Society, and thank goodness to this day, he has taken down the Groyper stuff. He has put back up the Roz Williams archive stuff, which is amazing. And anyone in the Goth community, regardless of your political affiliation, but personally, hopefully I've made a compelling argument of why you should not follow these people. And these are, like, it's so funny that, like, one of the things that the far right always does is they try to grab things and reappropriate them into their culture, into their meaning, and for their purpose. You know, many things that they used initially did not mean have anything to do with the far right sort of fascist, hierarchical, hateful, theocratic ideology at all. The swastika itself originally meant peace. So they love to do this. They love to take things from other cultures, reappropriate them, to redefine them so that they mean something for them instead of the original source of what they meant. Goth and punk is no different. Somebody who made a case that fascists don't know how to make creative music. They don't know how to make creative art. Because to do so requires so much like restriction away from uniformity, away from conformity, to have the free thought and not be bound by anything, to push the envelope and be able to make new things that push the boundaries of what's acceptable, of what we know and understand. I mean, how can you be a conformist and a uniformist and then create art of any kind that's really new and innovative? I'm not sure that you can, because if you're into uniformity and conformity and authoritarianism, you're going to follow the status quo, you're going to follow the norm, you're going to follow the stupid leader, and that means you're going to do what you think is the normal way to make music, to paint, to draw, to art anything. And you end up with very, very bland shit. But it's funny that these far-right people, they're saying, oh, the right wing is the new punk. Well, no, it's not, because these are the same shitheads that used to protest all the gothic rock artists, the punk rock artists, and even people who are more mainstream, like into metal, things like grunge or Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails. These are the same shitheads that pearl clutched and tried to get shows canceled for Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, Skinny Puppy. Jack Off Jill had been arrested multiple times for protesting for women's rights and as part of the Riot Girl movement. Marilyn Manson has had these shitheads, these pearl-clutching theocrat, KKK, fascist types try to get his shows canceled because he wiped his ass with the American flag, because I don't think he actually did this, but there was a rumor that said that he took a shit on stage. And, I mean, even if that rumor is true, who cares? That's weird. That's pushing the envelope. And Marilyn Manson wouldn't be the first to do it. There were other, like, punk artists that have done that as well, including performing nude. Like, go look at G.G. Allen. He would be nude, and he'd go into the audience and rub his small dick on people. I don't think it was a sexual harassment thing. I think it was like just a shock value thing. And I think he knew he had a small dick, and I think he knew nobody wanted it. And you know, it'd be guys and girls alike. It was just part of this show. And Iggy Pop and Kurt Cobain and even Roz Williams himself his shows had been protested, and they tried to cancel his shows by the Catholic Church, members of the Catholic Church, the Protestant Church, the KKK, and fascists tried to get Roz Williams and also Christian death shows shut down. back in the day. And Reverend Phelps was a big part of this too. Reverend Fred Phelps, somebody I've counter-protested in my life multiple times. In fact, I wrote a news article about gay marriage, and he came all the way down from Topeka to protest at my graduation. I mean, this is nothing new. Like, the stuff that I used to see Reverend Fred Phelps and his followers from the Southern Baptist Church put on signs and say over a bullhorn back in the day, it's the same shit people like Nick Fuentes, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Jordan Petershit, Ben Shithead, Tim Pool, and all those people. It's the same fucking message. It's the same fucking arguments that it's always been. And they want to say, oh, we're the punk rock today. Bitch, you were the people trying to cancel punk rock back in the day. You were the people trying to get Rage Against the Machine show shut down. You were the people trying to get Roz Williams' show shut down and protested him. The people who are trying to get Christian Death shows shut down. The people who are trying to get Marilyn Manson's show shut down. The people who had Jack Off Jill arrested multiple fucking times because they dared to question the status quo. I mean, one of the times that they tried to arrest Marilyn Manson because he sucked the dick of one of his bandmates on stage, and his bandmates have sucked his dick, and one of his bandmates, John Five, even ate his ass on stage. Massive act of homoeroticism in a time where it was absolutely illegal to do that. It was considered an act of lewdness. And that's why Marilyn Manson, I think, wanted to do it, is because it was provocative. It was shock value. It made people go, oh my God, no. Blasphemy. Sodomy. Oh my goodness. And then these people want to say they're the punk rock. They're the goth. They're the counterculture. No. They're the establishment. They're the ones taking GOP super PACs. That's where fucking Nick Fuentes got some of his money, was from GOP super PACs. And if any of you were curious about the connection with far-right fascism and the GOP, the Republican Party, Nick Fuentes is getting super PAC money from the GOP. Hello. That's very establishment. Very establishment. You want to look at left content creators, which are not leftists, they're neoliberals. They're liberals, and they will tell you they're liberals. Getting super PAC money from the Democrats, super PACs. That would be people like Adam Mockler. That would be people like, what is his name? I have his face in my head. His name isn't coming to me. David Pakman. And Dean Withers, those are Democrat super PAC money people. They're not leftists. Some of them are kind of on the light. They got some progressive values to them. They're liberals. They're social democrats. They're neoliberals. I am a socialist. I'm on the left. So, no, Matt Walsh, absolutely, and Ben Shapiro and all those motherfuckers, they're not punk rock, they're not goth rock, they're not the people out there pushing the social norms, the people who are pushing the social norms is, well, it's still us, LGBTQIA plus people, BIPOCs, women. Because it seems every time, if a guy kisses another guy in public, if you see it on TV, they're still out there, just as Fred Phelps was doing before them, clutching their pearls and going, oh, the sodomy of it all. Oh, blasphemy, because, fuck God, fuck religion, fuck what Israel's doing to Gaza. That's the shit that gets protested. That's the shit that gets silenced. That's the shit that these people are still trying to shut down. Nick Fuentes hasn't been canceled. Ben Shapiro's not canceled. These people aren't canceled. You want to see cancel? Start criticizing Trump openly and tweet it out to Kash Patel or Russell Vogt or something like that, and watch what happens to your social media. Your social media will be gone like that. That's the real punk rock. We still are the ones that are pushing that envelope and pushing the norms and saying, no, fuck you, don't tell me what to do. We're still the ones doing it. It's just one of the new tactics that the right wing has adopted is we're going to pretend to be the victims. Bitch, nobody has been victimized simply for being straight, white, a male, not trans, cis. I guarantee you, as a cis het white man, you have never been chased by a car full of college dudes with a baseball bat simply for being cis het and white and a man. For that reason alone, you have never been chased by a group of people. Nobody's tried to hurt you for being that by itself. No one's done that to you. And that's just the reality. No. If we put on a show or a movie on Netflix that shows a cis het white male and female kissing, nobody says shit. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody fucking cares. You put a trans person in a show, oh my God. Watch everybody clutch their pearls, flip the fuck out, and try to get that thing taken off immediately. And that trans character in that show doesn't have to do a goddamn thing. Except, I mean, they don't even have to be trans for real. They just have to be a trans character, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, the blasphemy of it all. It's like, Jesus Christ, you act like somebody wiped their ass with a fucking American flag. Or burned one. Or burned a Bible. Jeez, man, we used to do a lot more intense stuff. I mean, I'd love to bring back the days of wiping our asses or taking a shit on an American flag or burning an American flag or burning a Bible, or fuck it, let's get a Confederate flag, a Nazi flag, an American flag and burn them together. Fuck it, let's make it even more ambiguous and confusing and strange and throw a communist flag in there. Fuck it, why not? Fuck it. It's a flag. It's a flag. And we're trying to use our free speech to show you it's just a flag. Burning a flag doesn't actually make a country catch on fire. It doesn't actually hurt anyone. That's all in your head. But these are the same motherfuckers as Fred Phelps. It's the same people. And Fred Phelps didn't even start it. It's been going on for millennia. It's nothing more like the only thing, like Nick Fuentes doesn't know who you are. He'll say, oh, I understand your problems. I understand your pain. Nobody else understands your pain. Do you have trouble making friends? Do you feel lonely? I have a group that's just for you. Okay, that's what cult people do. And cults aren't new. They've been around for a long time. That's the same speech they do. And then, okay, how do I solve this existential crisis of my masculine identity, of my identity, of all these gay people that make me uncomfortable? And then they give you some stupid, fucking, dumbass, fucking, really, really fucking simple solution that's really fucked up to a very complicated thing. It's like, look, man, I don't know what your fucking issue with LGBTQIA plus people is. I don't fucking know. I don't know what your issue with BIPOC people is. I don't fucking know. I don't know what your fucking issue with women, with female empowerment, with feminism. I don't know what your fucking issue is. You have to work that out for yourself. And if you don't want to talk to these groups of people, that's fine. You don't have to. There's a guy that lives next to us as we moved. He's never talked to me, but there's like this nonverbal communication where he keeps flipping me off, cussing me out under his breath. He starts doing like this, and I'm like, and he goes, and I'm like, and then he goes. It's almost like a nonverbal communication of him saying, it's like he's inviting me into a conversation to tell me that we shouldn't have a conversation. And it's like, that conversation doesn't even need to exist. If you don't like me because if you're a homophobic piece of shit and you want nothing to do with me, we don't need to say anything to each other, and you need to mind your own fucking business. I don't need to be invited over there just so you can say fuck you. You stay over there and stay quiet, shut the fuck up, mind your own business, because I gotta tell you, I want nothing to do with you anyway. I'm over there minding my own business, and I don't even know what the fuck you're cussing and flipping me off for and talking about. Like, you just, I honestly, I just thought he was fucking crazy. I thought he was fucking schizophrenic or something. He might be. I don't know. That's how it comes across to me. He's fucking schizophrenic. That's how fucking weird and bizarre this shit is. Okay? It's fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. Like I've seen more brains in a fucking dog turd, in the maggot of a fucking dog turd than some of these motherfuckers. Like, for real, what the fuck? And then, to come to find out, like, you look at the etymology of the word demagogue and where that came from. Like, this whole, like, oh, let me be a charismatic speaker and not really care about logic and critical thinking and philosophy and facts and everything. And I'll just speak charismatically because I want people to follow me. Yes, I care about your issues. Your issues are so important. I'm the only one who understands your pain and can solve the pain. And we're going to solve that by getting rid of all the people that you hate. And in reality, the only reason why I'm even saying that is because I want all these followers. And when I tell you to jump, I want you to jump because you believe that I'll solve your problems. And all it is a means to an end so I can gain power and have all these people do exactly as I say and follow me implicitly without question. Just like cults, just like dictators, just like religion, just like it's fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. And I don't want to say the people who get trapped in that are stupid, because smart people can even smart people can slip into the dark, dank rabbit hole tunnel of propaganda and brainwash that they use, especially when somebody is in a place in their life where they feel alone, isolated, depressed, hurt, and all kinds of things. And that's why it is very important. And you don't have to be a leftist. You just have to be a decent person to remind people to be decent, to reach out to people who are in that state and let them know, like, hey, I care about you. I care about your well-being. I care about where you're at. And if you want to talk about it, I'm here. No homo. It's just that simple. That's why I look at Nick Fuentes and it's like, and Tim Pool, and Ben Shapiro, and all of them. And I think, this is so fucking dumb. Because that's all it is. I'm only using this as an example because Charlie Kirk gave a really good example of this. I would use someone else if I knew a better example that wasn't Charlie Kirk, given the circumstances surrounding Charlie Kirk, because I don't want to deal with the weird, bizarre, fucking mental bullshit a lot of people have around the subject matter of Charlie Kirk as of recently. Look, one time a kid was arguing to Charlie Kirk that he was a theocrat, fascist, a Christo-fascist. And what the kid did was give the definition of what a Christo-fascist was, categorically, to which Charlie Kirk hit every single one of the points, categorically, of what a Christo-fascist is, what that definition is. Okay, that's categorical. What does Charlie Kirk do in response? He asks the kid, do you have a dog? And the kid says, yeah. And he goes, oh, well then you must be a fascist because Hitler had a dog. That's rhetoric. That's a correlation. That's not categorical. It's not definitional. That's just correlation. That's like saying, oh, you're a vegan? Well, Hitler was a vegan, you must be a fascist. Or it's like saying, do you like cigars? Well, you must be Joseph Stalin because he liked cigars. No, there's a definition behind who Joseph Stalin was and how he ran his authoritarianism categorically that you could fit definitionally. And smoking cigars, you can be a fascist, you can be a left-wing authoritarian, you can be an authoritarian and still have a personality, an individual identity. This over here, the category, the definition does not equal the sum total of the personality. This is a mistake that people are making all across social media. This is something that really bothers me, is when someone says, as a libertarian, my position on LGBTQIA plus people is no, because I'm a libertarian. So, in this instance, which hasn't always been the case, or another example is, as an anarchist, because I'm an anarchist, my position on, pick a political topic, therefore my position will be this, because, and that's not how it's supposed to be. How it's supposed to be is you're supposed to be yourself first. You have morals, values, principles, and your individuality, who you are, and you just be those things. I was bound to find goth, punk, grunge, and stuff like that because I've always kind of hated authority. I've never liked being told what to do, and I've always been into creepy, dark stuff. I've always kind of been into melancholia and tragedy. I mean, I'd get my dad for bedtime story time. I would get my dad to read me Edgar Allan Poe stories. I mean, I was writing scary stories or ghost stories when I was in 4th grade. I had a poem and a short story published when I was in fucking 4th grade that were both ghost stories. Not that they didn't go into a normal book. They went into a book that went into all the public libraries inside elementary schools all across the United States. So And it was a collection of different kids that had submitted things, and I had two. And it was very, but anyway, it was inevitable when I found out there was a music genre that encapsulated this melancholia, this dark theme, this anti-authoritarian sentiment. It was inevitable that I was going to find it. Because I am those things. I was going to be drawn to it. It's also why I'm drawn to hippie music. Because it's anti-establishment. It's very fuck authority. It's very individual self-expression. It's why I was drawn to grunge music. It's why I kind of liked Marilyn Manson back in the day. Kind of. I liked Smells Like Children. I liked Portrait of an American Family. I liked Antichrist Superstar. And then that's just kind of where it stopped. It's why I like Skinny Puppy. It's why I like Riot Girls. I love the attitude of fuck you, don't tell me what to do. I'm gonna stick my boot up your ass. I love that attitude. Fuck authority. I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna be myself. I'm gonna wear whatever the fuck I want. I'm gonna walk however the fuck I want. Talk however the fuck I want. Don't tell me what to do. It was inevitable that I was going to find that, especially something that encapsulates that and also covers melancholia, tragedy, skulls, and dark stuff too. I fell in love right away. It was inevitable. And it didn't need to be called goth. It could have been called something completely different. I still would have loved it. I did not find goth and then twist and contort myself to fit that. I was already doing that and found it. I didn't mold myself into goth. I already had aspects of it, and it fit into who I am already as it was. Same with being a leftist. I hate the war on drugs. I want it to end. I think drugs should be legalized. I want universal health care. I don't mind paying taxes for it. I think we should have better disability. I care about people. I want people to be free. I want poverty and homelessness to end. I don't like establishment people. The people who've constantly been telling us what to do forever and ever and ever. I don't like the corporate world. I don't like that they're amassing tons of wealth and power and holding it over our heads and exploiting us and terrorizing us and steamrolling us and extorting us. And I don't like those people. Fuck them. I don't like the law. So, yeah. That's who I am. And then who I am. Well, the terms come to follow, and why, yeah, I'm a socialist. I'm an anarchist. I'm a libertarian socialist. I'm a punk. I'm a goth. I'm a goth punk. I'm a hippie. I'm counterculture. I'm subculture. I'm all those things. And like I said, whatever you perceive, you can leave in the comments, or maybe I've already mentioned something that you perceive me as, and leave that. Let me know. But what Nick Fuentes is doing, it's nothing new. It's you know, have you ever seen Sweeney Todd? You know, the Mr. Horelli's Miracle Elixir? The people who follow people like Nick Fuentes, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, Trump, MAGA, all that stuff, they're the people who are buying Mr. Horelli's Miracle Elixir, which is piss in a bottle, because they think it'll make their hair grow. The Nick Fuentes and Tim Pool, they're scatmen. a scat man. I know people get this, what that word means, confused because there's a fetish called scat, which is disgusting. Like, look, I'm not like one, like, if I don't think that hurts anyone, like, but yourself, like, if you're into scat, whatever. I personally think that's disgusting. That's not for me. I want nothing to do with it. That's gross. I think scat's gross. I will never participate in that. That's not something I will do. I know that there's this thing where supposedly on the left we're not supposed to kink shame, and it's like, look, I'm not saying people can't do it. I'm not saying it should be illegal. I'm just saying that's very niche, and a lot of people are not going to be into that. That's kind of gross. Not kind of. It is gross. It's gross. Okay, but you know, if you do that, that's your thing. I'm not going to stop you. I'm just saying I want nothing to do with it because that's nasty. Poop is nasty. So there's also that song Scatman, and I think people came to associate it, that song Scatman with being able to do that whatever he does in that song. The original definition of a Scatman is just somebody who could talk charismatically and convince you that, you know, that you needed to buy this extra thing to turn on your lamp because for some reason it's supposed to be a headache to push a button to turn it on. So you get like this levy system that you have to turn a crank and pull a string and flip a switch and do something else so you don't have to push the button because that's annoying or something. It's, you know, they're manipulative, they're brainwashy, they're very cult-like, and they want people to buy their shit that you don't, that they're trying to convince you need to buy things you don't need. And a lot of the times when people buy that shit, you know, it ends up in their storage or in their closet or something and collects dust, and they never end up using it. And they're like, why did I buy that? Because the person who sold it to you was a scam. And for the people who do it for political reasons, they don't care about your issues. They'll tell you that they do. Whatever that needs to be done so they can get power, authority, control, and all of that. They want to rule. They're not trying to fix your problems. They're just trying to rule you. And that's why all of it's just so stupid and disgusting, is because Mr. Urelli has become popular and normal, and the very least, the vast majority of the populace knew that was a scam. And you know, you had the few people that didn't and would buy into it, and everybody would look at those people and be like, oh, they're being fooled, they're being conned. Now, being conned seems to be the norm. And I think a lot of that comes from social media. And a lot of it, we are locked in echo chambers. We're locked in media bubbles. And we can't have a conversation because the reality is there are right-wingers that come to my channel and talk. And they talk to me and we debate. We have conversations and stuff like that. But the big YouTubers out there, you know, somebody who goes to Jesse Genders or Some More News or Bosch or The Majority Report or Hassan Piker, they're not right-wingers. They're other leftists that are just there to have their leftist position affirmed back to them. They're not there to be convinced of being a leftist. They're already a leftist. So they're just going, or either that they're going to watch Bosch or whoever own the right winger because it's funny, ha ha ha, that, you know, making fun of it. And people don't go to Ben Shapiro because they're like, well, I'm a leftist and I want to hear what Ben Shapiro has to say. The people who go to watch Ben Shapiro are already right-wingers that are there to have their political position reaffirmed as well. And if you are a right-winger and you go to one of these big leftist YouTubers like Jesse Genders or Abigail Thorne or Vosh or whoever, the chances of you getting kicked out of the chat because you post something about a leftist position on that already misrepresents what that position is, they are going to automatically assume that you're doing that on purpose, that you're misrepresenting that position because you're just being a bigot. They don't know if you're brainwashed or not, and literally think that there's people out there identifying as 36,000 genders. Or that you think that they don't know if you are trolling or if you literally think there's a child out there that identifies as a cat and poops in a litter pan in a school. Which they don't. And that's the problem. That doesn't exist. So for a lot of them, they block you. They get rid of you because you have to understand they get a lot of hate. Well, the same is true on the right-wing side. If I go to the Ben Shapiro side and I start talking about leftist principles, I get booed out of the comments section. Or they'll want to debate me on something really fucking stupid that it's like, look, not everything is up to debate. I'm allowed to feel certain ways about something. Like, I mean, literally, I told somebody once in a chat, in a comment section, that my husband and I had a really hard time watching The Man in the High Castle because it felt we felt that it was too close to home. This is very subjective. This is provoking emotion, which art does. And somebody said to that, by that logic, you wouldn't watch a zombie film because you'd be afraid of the zombie apocalypse, or you wouldn't watch Game of Thrones because it would be too close to home of burning villages or something like that. And it's like, oh my God, dude, not everything is up for debate, let alone, that doesn't even make sense. The zombie apocalypse is fantasy. That's fiction. It's never going to happen. That's not real. And second of all, we don't live in the Middle Ages. So I'm not worried about, like people riding on horses and burning our homes, and dragons aren't real either. But aside from that, it's like, dude, not everything is up for debate. I'm allowed to feel things as a human being, and so is everyone else. But I'm just saying, people want to debate stuff that has nothing to do with debate, has nothing to do with logic and critical thinking. And that's another thing social media has done, is all this debate sphere stuff, going back to my Jubilee video. The idea of what debate, logic, and critical thinking and philosophy is has been totally bastardized. It's what these people who are going around debating, it's not debate. It's not. That's not what debate is. If you want to know more about debate, I would recommend go and watch Matt Dillahunty's channel. Go and watch Rationality Rules, because they talk a lot about deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, the various types of fallacies, and so on and so forth. And they know what rhetoric is. Okay. What we really are looking for is not debate, conversation. And it's really hard to have a conversation with somebody who their position is, I think you should be dehumanized, depersoned, and killed. And then I'm not supposed to be angry about that. If someone says, I think all LGBTQIA plus people should be imprisoned, have their personhood decline, have their humanity stripped from them and destroyed, if I say something bad should happen to that person, well, I'm not allowed to do that. Because I literally will get more than canceled. It won't be canceled. It will be, oh, your entire social media is gone and possibly put in prison. So it's like you get to say horrible things at these people. You know, this is why Jessie Genders has issues. She talks a lot about how people have clamored into her channel and gone into her comments section where she has been met with just this unbelievable barrage and assault of just some of the just fucked up things you could say to a trans woman. Calling her it, disgusting, just all kinds of things, just pure harassment. And she has to be the bigger person and say, if I block them, if I delete them, if I don't address them, then I'm some triggered snowflake. But moreover, with someone like me, I'm the type of person that'll clap back. But the thing is if I clap back, then I'm a monster. So that's very irritating. So it's like, if you don't want me to clap back, it's just like that guy over there, we don't need to be having that conversation. Mind your own business and fuck off. But that's generally not what tends to happen. And, you know, be really weird for somebody to be a massive Roz Williams fan and have a problem with the LGBTQIA plus community, considering I don't know if Roz was gay or bi. It's never really been made very clear. But Roz has had a lot of boyfriends in his life, and this we know for fact. That we know for a fact. So maybe he swung both ways. Maybe he was bisexual. A lot of people in the goth community, though, say he was gay. And you have to understand, for Roz Williams' time, for a gay man, it wasn't uncommon to try to be with a girl because society was so hostile towards us. You did so out of peer pressure because you thought it was what you were supposed to do. You did it for your own protection. You did it because society got into your head and tried to tell you it was gross, it was disgusting, you can change, it's your choice, and you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna be with a girl, I gotta change my way, and then it doesn't work, and it's like, why won't it work, and eventually you say, you know what, fuck you, I'm gay, it's who I am, I can't change it, I don't know what to tell you. So if Roz Williams is your hero, why do you hate gay people? Why do you hate the LGBTQ community? Or maybe you just hate the people you interacted with. Because I guarantee you, not every gay person you hate. And you need to understand, for every LGBTQIA plus person, there's more to us than just being LGBTQIA+. Those are just aspects, just a small aspect of who we are. I, too, am goth, and one of the reasons why Roz Williams is a hero to me is because I think he was into dark things enough to where, like I even freaked out anti-sex gang once, because one of my fascinations is post-mortem daguerreotypes from the 1800s. And I showed Andy's, because Andy likes to collect 1920s films of flapper girls, and I said, I have a hobby too. I really like post-mortem daguerreotypes from the 1800s, and showed him some pictures, some screenshots of them from one of my books. And he just went complete silent and just got away from me immediately. And I think if Roz Williams was alive and I wanted to share that with him, I think he would think that was cool. I think he's dark enough and a sensitive enough soul to understand the art. Because it was a form of art back then. It was considered art. And it is art. It's dark, but it's art. And I think he would have had an appreciation for that. Also, Roz was a very beautiful man. And I wish I could have been one of his lovers. It just wasn't meant to be. So I'll leave you with that. Yeah. What Nick Fuentes does, and many others, including Trump and MAGA, it's not new. Been doing it for millennia. Go back and really seriously pay attention to the ancient Greek part of this video. Go over it again and again. And the links and everything in the description. Tons of those. Be a little part from the script, kind of an opening. Like, share, subscribe, and comment, and all that sort of stuff. Hit the bell button, as if I'll ever be fucking popular enough or anything, or able to put out enough content to even make money doing this. I don't think I'll ever get there. Yeah. Just the way it goes, I guess. I worked really hard on this video. I hope everyone who watches it really enjoys it. With that, I'm out.